Hello everybody, welcome back to the Gyno Gurus. Today we are going to be continuing our Fact or Fiction series. So I really enjoyed this series the last time that we spoke about all of our fun myths or topics. So we're going to continue that. I think we have like 4 more topics that we're going to run through. And today's topic is that the myth that PMS isn't real. It's all in your head. But is it all in your head? Or is it not all in your head? I guess we'll find out.
Yes.
So basically we're just going to start by talking about number 1, what PMS is, which is really premenstrual syndrome, and then PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So
Yes.
Those two things really fall within the same category. One of them is just more severe than the other,
Yes,
which
the
is PMDD.
yes.
But most symptoms that people experience with PMS are like the mood swings, irritability, breast tenderness, bloating, fatigue. What am I missing?
That's
Sleep disturbance, headaches,
Yeah.
And then to actually get like a formal diagnosis of the PMDD, which is a more severe form of PMS, you have to have at least one mood symptom like anxiety, irritability, and then have at least 5 other symptoms that go along with that, which are usually the physical symptoms of bloating, breast tenderness, etc. So that in a nutshell is what PMS and PMDD is. And also all of these symptoms have to happen within your luteal phase of your cycle, which your luteal phase is the second half of your menstrual cycle. And right before your period. So you'll normally get symptoms for like a week or so beforehand. Some people more, some people less. But it has to be within that window. Like this is not something that you're experiencing all month long, or it's not considered PMS or PMDD.
Yes, so that's why they call it premenstrual.
Premenstrual. But hey, premenstrual could be throughout the entire month because technically the whole month is premenstrual, right?
I suppose.
I'm just going to let Dr. Mandel get into basically what some of the thought behind the cause of PMS is, which I would just kind of arguably kind of say like we really don't like know for sure. I think that there's a lot of like theories out there and like, thoughts about what could be happening, but we really don't have like a hard cut like data of like what causes PMS and PMDD, and it could be different for everybody too. So,
yeah, I would agree with that. It may be, syndromes are interesting things because they can have different causes that result in the same symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So, like an example would be, say, irritable bowel syndrome. There's different causes to it. So premenstrual syndrome or PMS probably does have multifactorial causes to it, but it does correlate with, after ovulation, the rise in progesterone. And so from a pragmatic point of view, that's what has to be addressed. And there are different ways to address PMS. You could address the hormonal side of it. And some people have tried giving progesterone. And progesterone is really, when I was starting off in training, in England, there was a big school of thought that progesterone would resolve PMS. And back then, they didn't even have PMDD as a defined diagnosis. But I tried it, and I was very underwhelmed with the effect of giving progesterone, which never intuitively made any sense to me anyway. But you always have to look at studies. But I have not been impressed clinically that progesterone works. Suppressing ovulation works for some patients. So, birth control pills sometimes are helpful for it. Sometimes treating the neurotransmitter side of it, which would be like using an SSRI, Prozac or Zoloft or Paxil, the common ones, using a GABA agonist type of medicine like Xanax can also help. And then there are supplements and things that can be beneficial, including Eminositol has good promise. Over the years, I've had very good success with black coash. Black coash is in Germany, they have like an FDA kind of thing. And they, at least the last time I looked, still recommended black coash for PMS type of symptoms, particularly menstrually related headaches. And I've actually found that to be really, does really help for a lot of patients with premenstrual and menstrually related headaches, because those headaches seem to be precipitated by the drop in estrogen levels, and the black coash seems to kind of steady that out. And actually, another treatment for menstrually related headaches, which I would put in the kind of category of PMS, even though at that point it's not premenstrual, but it sort of usually starts a few days beforehand, coinciding with the drop in estrogen levels, is giving a low-dose estrogen patch to blunt the drop in estrogen levels.
You're saying for menstrual migraines?
Yeah, for menstrual migraines. So that could be effective. Some people have used magnesium, which is magnesium seems to help everything, because so many people are magnesium deficient. And then lifestyle things like exercise, meditation, avoiding, stress is also very useful for patients with PMS.
Yeah.
And then,
that's good. I do want to hop back to the progesterone, only because I know you're not really on social media, but like progesterone is very, very popular right now. It's very talked about, especially in like the social media space regarding women's health. So I do want to spend a little bit of time on not to get too far into the weeds, but like basically why they thought progesterone would be effective for PMS and PMDD, and then also like kind of touch on situations where it would be helpful, kind of like we talked about before we started filming, like a luteal phase defect, which is where you have low progesterone levels, which also can result in mood instability and just irritability and all of that stuff. So basically, if you have the defect, like a true luteal phase defect with low progesterone, by supplementing that, I thought that would help your symptoms. But I'm assuming that obviously I wasn't around whenever they were doing the progesterone supplementation. I think you said it was England.
Yeah, in England, there was a big school of thought.
Yeah, which the thing is, it still is, like, I would say a big school of thought, especially in the world of functional medicine, which, like, we typically, we do not really, like, dabble in that much. I mean, we're holistic, but, like, functional medicine is a completely different beast. And so, but they will use very, very frequently. I know lots of patients who have seen functional medicine doctors who will be put on progesterone for PMS and PMDD. And the thought behind it, to my understanding, and so if you're a functional medicine doctor, please correct me if I am wrong.
Comment.
Yes, please comment.
Put in comments.
But is that since progesterone, converts to its metabolite, which is called allopregnanolone, and that metabolite is thought to have a calming effect on the brain because it acts on your GABA receptors, much like a benzodiazepine would, like Xanax or Ativan. And so the thought behind it, that, like, my understanding is by, supplementing with progesterone, having that convert to its metabolite, you'll have less PMS symptoms. But there are also, like, some pretty large scale studies that progesterone can actually worsen PMS symptoms and PMDD symptoms. So it would make sense to me, like, in my head, like, okay, like, yes, by supplementing with progesterone, it's like, I would think that would make sense. But then we also see, in, like, very large scale, well done studies that women who have, PMS and PMDD, the worse their symptoms are, the higher their levels of progesterone typically is in their luteal phase. So it just is, it kind of contradicts, like, what I feel like I initially would think, but that, all that to say, there are patients who do have PMS symptoms from, things like luteal phase defect who would really benefit from progesterone. But again, it's for the right patient, and not everyone's PMS is from a luteal phase defect. And it might be from other things like the, neurotransmitter dysregulation of, like, the serotonin reuptake, and then the GABA receptors and all of that stuff. So it's like, and there's different ways to treat that, like you talked about with the SSRIs and, like, St. John's wort and stuff like that. So
actually, I didn't mention St. John's wort.
Oh, you didn't mention St. John's wort.
I mentioned it before we started filming, but St. John's wort is sort of a natural SSRI. So that's, and you, with the SSRIs and PMS, unlike using an SSRI for depression, you only use them while you're symptomatic. You don't use them all month long, whereas depression you would treat all month long. And interestingly enough, I've had patients who have underlying depression and it gets worse premenstrually, and I've had them go up on their SSRI dose premenstrually, and that usually smooths things out, and then they drop back down after their period.
Yeah, so you just have them do it within the 2-week window,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So yeah, all that to say, I forgot where I was going with that. Basically, we were just talking about, progesterone not really being a super ideal treatment for it, but in the right patient it is. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, do you have anything to add to like any of this or no?
No, I think PMS and PMDD are real entities, and I think that if somebody out there is having issues with them, those things, that they should find a clinician who is open to working with them and solving the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all that to say, even though it's not actually in your head, it might be in your head from a neurotransmitter standpoint.
Exactly right.
Oh, and I did want to touch on one more treatment option since we've talked about treatment options. The use of low-dose naltrexone for PMS and PMDD is becoming more of a thing as well. I haven't used it. I haven't had the right patient for it. But along with all these like theories of what actually causes PMS and PMDD, there are some doctors out there who think that PMS and PMDD are actually due to endorphin deficiency, and that by giving low-dose naltrexone, that will help increase endorphins. And then
I would not be surprised at all, because again, it's likely a multifactorial thing. I don't think it's like somebody's going to find the treatment
for PMDD and PMS.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the right person. This will work, but it won't help somebody else.
Yeah. But yeah, just recognizing that it is a real thing. And I think it's also really validating for patients too, because I've had some people come to me and they're like, well, I feel crazy because like, and everyone says it's like all in my head, but it's like, it's not really like, it is a real thing. And like Dr. Mandel said, finding a provider who's going to advocate for you and, lay out all the treatment options is really important. Just because it can be very, detrimental to your quality of life. I mean, no one wants to go month after month feeling, the weight of PMS and PMD.
And the other thing about PMS, which we didn't touch on, is it tends to get worse, as women get older until probably almost through menopause, or certainly through perimenopause. Mm-hmm. Like I've had over the years patients who never had any premenstrual issues, and they hit their mid-30s, and suddenly they're like, "You got to help me,"
Yeah.
So it's definitely that's part of it too. So it may not be throughout your whole life that you have it. It may
get worse as you get older. Yeah,
exactly.
and go through your changes. Yeah. So all that to say, this myth is false. If I had my sign, I'd be holding up my big false sign that PMS is in fact real. It is not all in your head. So that was really all we were going to do today. Do you have anything to wrap up or to add?
Just hit like, subscribe.
I hope that you guys enjoyed this short video.
And
then we'll be back next week with some other fun myths. So I hope that you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.